Today I want to show you how to build a professional and personal CRM inside of Notion and how I have done this in the past. So essentially what a CRM is a place to manage contacts and relationships, whether they be professional or personal. When I was a Notion consultant, I did this a lot for small teams and individual people. This workspace is going to have 3 different funnels. We're going to have the contact list, which is pretty easy to make with your basic contact information. And then we're going to have a schedule, a calendar, where we can schedule meetings. Within this schedule, we are going to create a meetings template. And inside of this meeting templates will be the 3rd funnel into a to-do list. So essentially what we're going to do is create a space where we have a list of contacts. We can quickly schedule meetings for those contacts. And then within those meetings, quickly create actionable to-dos. And at the end, I want to show you how to create a follow-up queue. Inside of this follow-up queue is going to be all the contacts we need to follow up with. So let's just get right into it. Let's begin with what I've set up to get started. We have 3 different pages here. We have personal contacts, professional contacts, and a schedule. Let's first go into these personal contacts. So this is one database. So what we have here are both personal and professional contacts. I have a gender property that is a select property. I have a relation property, and then we have a phone number property. Honestly, I wouldn't use this because I don't really need to keep track of these things. These things are on my phone, especially phone numbers. But for email property, which we do have in here, what's nice about the email property is that you're able to actually send an email from Notion. I can go over to this add button and actually compose an email from here. So it will send me to my Gmail and open up a compose email box. Let's go over to that professional contacts page, and here we have a linked database to that contact database. And again, we have not sorted this yet, so we just have all the contacts in a row. At the top here, we again have relation property, which I went through, the gender, the name, the email, the phone number, the source, and the status. So source is essentially where this contact came from. And then I have a proposal status. So this is definitely very specific to what you're using your professional contacts for. I know that when I created these templates as a consultant, this property was really important for people. We also have another database view for proposal status, which is in a board view. You can see where everyone lies on this status line. Like right now, Kelly Johnson is in the proposal stage. So we have our schedule here, and it's pretty empty. And I have a linked database from that schedule CRM, which is set up like a board view, like I showed you before with that proposal status. But instead, we just have a very simple sort of to-do list setup. So tasks that are not started, tasks in progress, tasks completed, and tasks to archive. Now, like I said in the beginning, we are going to create a template inside of this calendar for meeting notes. So we'll be able to schedule meetings and create notes from those meetings. And inside of this schedule, we're going to be able to add to this little pipeline up here some tasks. You can drag tasks around to each slot in the pipeline. Once it goes into archive, it will actually disappear because it will then disappear into an archive, which I have in another list view right here called archive. So let's just get started with the personal contacts. Let's separate with a select property between personal and professional contacts. So this is pretty easy. Let's just call it pers/prof. And this is going to be a select property. What we're gonna do is just simply go personal and another select for professional. Let's make personal orange and everything with professional blue to keep up with that theme here, and assign this to the appropriate people. So what I want to do is show you a little bit of a trick. So if you copy a cell that is highlighted blue, you can just drag down and paste it. Now what I want to do is create a filter, and I'm going to make sure that pers/prof is personal. So now that's all we're seeing. And if I were to go and add a new contact, that select will automatically appear, which means we don't really need to see it here, right? And inside of the card, I also want to make sure hide property is hide when empty. In fact, all of these properties, if I were to select into hide property, should be hide when empty. That will just clean up the space a little bit. So the next thing I want to do is I want to create a date of birth property. So these are personal contacts, and it is nice to keep track of people's birthdays, especially if you have a large family. So let's just put in some examples. Maybe this person's birthday is today and they were born in 1980. Now I want to see whose birthday is this month. So let's just say B-day month question mark and make this a formula property. So what I can say here is simply month of date of birth equals month of right now. You can see that the date of birth that is in April will be checked off. So what I'm going to do up here in this toggle is I'm going to go / linked database, and I'm going to go ahead and find that personal and professional database that we're in. Let's change this view to a list. And what I'm going to do here is add a filter called B-day month question mark is checked. Because we have this linked database up here, I don't really need to see this formula here. Next, what I want to do is show you how to extract the last name of a contact, because you may want to sort these contacts by last name instead of first name. Zoom in a little bit because I know these formulas are hard to see, and what I'm going to do is just say replace inside of property name this with that. So what am I replacing? Just replace everything before that first space as indicated with this symbol, and I'm going to replace it with nothing. So that's eliminating that first name, which will give us all of the last names. Essentially what this allows you to do is add a sort. So we can add a sort that says last name ascending. The next thing I want to show you is how to calculate the age. So for this, we can just use the date between function, and we can say date between now and DOB in the number of years. This is how it looks if you want to pause, and we will get the ages of everyone. Now, what we can do from here, if we want to say years old after the age, is we can format this so it is a text property and not a number, and just say plus years old. And then up here in our birthday month, we can also add a property of their age at the end. Of course, you'd have to add 1 year to this if it is not their birthday yet. Let's look at these professional contacts. What we can do for this example is get rid of this status, right? We can hide this because we already have a view for proposal status. What I'm going to do is create a filter to just see professional. So add filter for first/professional and make sure it's professional. Another thing I want to do is look at these cards. So date of birth. Do we need to know the date of birth of a professional contact? Probably not. Again, with age, actually, it looks like it is awkward because it just says years old if date of birth is empty. So what I'm going to say is only show me this, zoom in a little bit, only show me this function if date of birth is not empty. So if it is not empty, show me this, years old. Otherwise, just show me an empty space. Now it is empty, hide age property when empty, and hide date of birth when empty. So this is just cleaning up these cards a little bit. We also have that last name. Let me drag that up under the name, maybe under the gender. Now from here, what I want to do is create a connection to these company cards. I want to see where these people are coming from, what organization. So we're going to create a relation property and search for company cards. Create that relation. Now inside of these company cards, there will be a relation coming back. So I'm going to rename this to people. So this is all the people associated with Samsung. So now I can click through here and maybe Lori is from Samsung, Kelly is from Coffee & Co, and Jim is also from Coffee & Co. Pretty easy. We also have the city and the state and region and the address. That's pretty important to know inside of this main view. I don't know so much the sources. And then what we can do is create another property that is a roll-up. Let's say I want to know the city that this organization is from. Go down to this roll-up. So we're going to create a window from those company cards. Select the relation I want to create this window from, which is organization. The property I want to grab, which is the city, and just show the original. Before we start connecting to the schedule, what I want to do is create 2 linked databases up here in won and lost, to personal and professional. Make sure this is a list view. We don't need it to be a table. And what I can do, because I want another one, is simply just copy this block and paste it under lost. And it will give me the same thing. Now I can filter everything in here in which this status is 1, which right now is 0 people. So I can also filter lost to status is lost. So let's go in here and see how this works. Let's say with Lori, we got past the negotiation stage and we have lost this client. If we want it, she will appear under 1. What I can also kind of do here actually is create another filter within this view, this board view, and say whenever a card goes into lost or won, I want it to just disappear. The reason for this is because it's a bit redundant, right? We have won and lost at the top. We don't need to see it in this pipeline. So let's just say status is not lost and status is not won. Let's start connecting these contacts to a schedule. What I'm going to do is create a new contact template. I'm going to edit it and add a linked database to schedule CRM. First, let's make that connection to the schedule. And that's going to be, again, just like going to those company cards, a relation property. So let's say from schedule and make sure this is a relation. Just say schedule CRM. Cool. Now if we go into schedule, you'll see a back relation like before, back to personal and professional CRM. So what I'm going to say is from, or just say contact. So that's everyone associated with this meeting will show up there. The next thing I'm going to do is firstly, I'm going to make sure I hide this because again, it's going to be kind of redundant. So I'm going to say always hide. And then let's create a linked database to the schedule. So let's say schedule, CRM again. So now what we're doing is we're nesting that schedule inside of the contact. So we have the date, the status, and the contact involved. So we don't need to see the contact. We may want to schedule a date for this meeting and give it a status. Actually, we wouldn't need to give it a status because this is not a to-do. This is a scheduled meeting. So let's hide that. Just the name of the meeting and the date. So really, we just need one filter here. The contact inside of schedule contacts contains the contact we're in. So contact contains new contact, which is the name of this template. And let's say Lori a contact template. So new contact. And now I can create some meetings. So meeting with Lori about proposal. And let's schedule this for the 21st of April. Now we'll see from schedule, meeting with Lori about proposal. I can click through this and see that we are now within that schedule CRM where we have the date, the status, and the contact. You'll see inside of here, if I go to schedule CRM, that the 21st is now populated with this meeting. So within this meeting page, I could create some roll-ups, like what company is Lori from? I want to know within this meeting page. So let's say company or organization and go to roll-up. What I'm going to do is grab from the relation contacts, and within this window, let's go to the organization. And for the sake of cleanliness, let's just hide when empty. Okay, cool. I mean, we could add more to this if we want. We can see if she's a professional or a personal contact. So professional/personal. Let's make this a roll-up. And again, grab from Lori or contacts and make sure the property is professional/personal. Cool. Let's go with that and go back to that contact page. So I went ahead and I added this template new contact for everyone, including our personal contacts, like Marcus. I added some more events as well to the schedule to take a look at. I've also added in some instances the time I want to schedule these things. The schedule, they will appear inside of here. Of course, we don't have to do this in each contact page. You don't have to set up all your meetings and stuff in there. You can just go right to the calendar and say on the 6th, meeting, and just select through your contacts who you're having this meeting with. Okay, so now that we're back in the schedule, let's start creating those meeting notes. So let's add a new template called meeting notes. Open this up as a page. And what I'm gonna do is actually create a select property to differentiate between a meeting or a scheduled event and a to-do. So let's just call this type, make it a select property, and say to-do or a meeting. In this case, of course, we're in meeting notes, so this would be a meeting. I do not like the color brown. Let's make it orange. Now what I'm going to do is a lot similar to what I did before. I'm going to create a linked database, except I'm linking to myself. So this is called self-referential database linking, where inside of my schedule, I'm finding my schedule. Let's keep the date and the status. Okay, so when we go and create a to-do, we can determine if it is not started, in progress, completed, or archived. The next thing I want to do is I want to create a parent-child relation. So what this is going to do is every single to-do I add, I want it to be connected to a particular meeting it came from. So let's create another property called from meeting, and you'll see it appear at the top here because we are in the same database. And we are connecting to ourselves again, so schedule CRM, and let's sync both ways. So related to schedule CRM from meeting. Let's say to-do list. For both of these, I'm going to hide always. For from meeting, actually, let's say hide when empty. All right, now let's just hide these. We don't need to see it in this view, and start creating some filters. The first filter I want to create is I want from meeting to be meeting notes. So I'm just grabbing the template I'm in, but I'm actually going to add another filter that says, and the type is to do. And that's it. Now what I can do inside of this schedule, let's click on a meeting and select that template. Now when I'm inside of this meeting, I can create my various meeting notes. And if there's any to-dos from this meeting, I can go right into here and say, this is a to-do. What date do I want to get this done by? Let's say if this meeting is on the 21st, maybe 2 days later on the 23rd, and the status is not started yet. If I go back to our original schedule page, at the very top, you'll see that under not started in our pipeline, this is a to-do shows up. And from here, we can drag across the pipeline. And again, if it goes into archive, it disappears into the archive. And you'll see underneath here that this is a to-do shows up inside of the calendar. So we're having both those meetings and that to-do list in the same calendar, which is really nice. What we can also do here is under more personal meetings, we can create a type called hang. So it isn't confused with a meeting. Actually, we can adjust this inside of our template we made in contacts so that, actually let's duplicate this to new contacts, and let's say this new contact is actually a new personal contact in which personal is checked off, and this is a new professional contact in which professional is checked off. Now within this schedule CRM, what I want to say is not only are we containing this contact, but also that the meeting we're scheduling, the type is meeting. And within personal, the type is hang. So I went into the schedule and cleaned it up a little bit. I didn't like that big empty space under the to-dos. This is a bit of a qualm I have with Notion calendars, but you know, it is what it is. So let's now look into that follow-up queue. And I want to put it right under here, and let's just start with a linked database to our personal and professional contact list. Let's make it a list so it isn't so messy and delete that original table, of course. from here, what I want to do is just show everyone where we've met them in the past. So anything before today, they're going to show up in this follow-up queue. But first, let's do a few things. I want to create a property that shows me the last time I contacted this person. So we're going to do this in both personal and professional. Let's add a rollup that says last contacted, and it's going to be a rollup. And what we're going to do is take from the relation that is from schedule, because now we've added that, right? And what I want to do is get the property called date and then the latest date. And it'll show me the last time I contacted these people. So this was 4 days ago with Marcus and 8 days ago with Gina. So these two will show up in that follow-up queue. Let's go over to the professional contacts and just add this property in. Again, they are both in the same database, so we just have to go to properties and look for it, last contacted, and I want it to show up here in our main view. You'll see that Lori is in 9 days, so the last time we contacted her was not in the past, but will be in the future since we've scheduled something for the future. She will not show up in this follow-up queue. So from here, what I'm gonna say is filter everyone. Now we're gonna go to that roll-up we made, last contacted. We could say either today or in the past, but what I'm gonna say is before today. You'll see that Marcus and Gina do show up. We can add some properties to this, like when was the last time that we did contact them? And I can add a sort so I can see at the very top the person I contacted the furthest ago. Essentially, the person contacted furthest ago is probably the one you want to follow up with first. So let's just go down to last contacted. I believe it would be ascending. Yes, so Gina was farther away. We can also divide this by personal and professional, of course. So let's do another one for professional. Probably did not spell this correctly, of course not. And a list. And let's do the same thing, right? So last contacted is before today, and another filter that tells me that pers/professional is only professional, which would be none right now. Let's change this to personal. And again, just add that filter there that says and is personal. There you go. As we go into this follow-up queue, let's say I want to schedule another meeting with Gina because it's been 8 days, or another hangout, right? All right, let's have a catch up about family stuff, right? And what I'm going to do is schedule this for the future, so the 15th. What will happen is that she will disappear from this follow-up queue because we've already scheduled an event for the future. We'll see in the schedule again that this will show up inside of here on April 15th with Gina. She is a personal contact. I could also say hang, right? So this is all very interconnected, right? We have different portals to start adding different scheduled meetings or scheduled hangs. We can do it from this front page. We can do it directly from the personal and professional contacts. We also have a place where we keep track of birthdays. You can customize it to make it your own. I really made sure that I'm only showing you the functionality of these things and not, a full out-of-the-box CRM. And then in professional contacts, again, we have this pipeline for proposal status, which of course you can delete if it does not apply to you. And yeah, that's pretty much how a skeletal version of a CRM, in my opinion, works best. Let's go right into the outro. Of course, the template is down below for you to duplicate, and all other relevant links. I have a Notion blog where I publish Notion content all through the week, usually about 2 or 3 posts a week. I also post on Twitter a lot about Notion and other things, so I'll see you guys the rest of the week there, and I'll see you next time.